Hey everybody, welcome back to Watch and Carry. So in today's video, I'm just going to be doing a review of a project I just did for a customer. Unfortunately, I did not film this, but wanted to show it to you anyways in case you happen to have this model, what to expect if you're planning to do a filter mod project on this. So this is a pretty unique find. Apparently, he found it in Walmart in Texas. I haven't found it here, but this is the model number. So Casio WS1200H-3AV. This is also called the fishing gear. Now this has already been modded, as I mentioned, so this will look different than the stock one. But this is how the watch looks. So really cool green resin strap and case with some orange accents there along the bezel. Typical 4-button pushers from Casio in traditional fashion: adjust, light, mode, and start. Some cool graphics on here. I'm not quite sure how to use the fishing timer, which is what's advertised here on this particular piece. Okay, now from the factory, I suggest clicking the link below to see what it looks like from the factory. But you get this green colored display at the top. And then the yellow bar here has been modded by me. That was traditionally the normal blank gray white screen that you find on most world time Casios. And then the bottom was the same. It was plain white or gray. So what I've done here is I've added a yellow filter and an orange filter to the middle and the bottom. The yellow uses the light amber colored filter from Lee Filters. And the bottom uses the some kind of orange. I forgot what it is. I don't want to look it up right now because I'm going to lose the video here. But I will put the link for that orange filter and the model number for it down below and where you can buy it. So when working with this watch, it's just like a lot of my other videos with the world timers, but it is a little bit trickier. So the reason being, the masking, that internal plastic part that divides the screen up, is not removable in this case. So because it's not removable, it's a little bit harder to measure the filters outside of the case on a nice flat surface. So you kind of have to eyeball it from outside the case. So this will make more sense when I open it up. But basically, it's just like before. You have these 4 screws on the back. Case back is metal, by the way. As I mentioned, the strap, the buckle, and the front of the case are all in that typical Casio resin. So actually a really nice watch. It wears a little bit smaller than the World Time, I think, in terms of lug to lug and width. So for those of you with a smaller wrist, especially me, I've got like 6.75 inches. It's, quite a aesthetically less bulky piece to be wearing. So you got those 4 screws. Go ahead and remove your case back here. Here is the O-ring, by the way. O-ring is very easy because it's just a circle. So unlike the World Time, there's no specific position you need to put that O-ring in. So that can easily be removable there. And then to get this case back off, you kind of go to the 6 o'clock position here, which is on that longer length of strap. You can take a sharp tool of some kind, just kind of put it here at the 6 o'clock position, put a little bit of pressure, and just gently pry up like that, okay? And that's how you're going to get to your case on the back. Now, one thing that is different is on the typical World Time. So here you have a modified World Time by me. So underneath you have that display that's in that yellowish color, and then the masking, which is on this black frame with the gold characters. So on the typical 1200 and 1300 series of Casios, which you've usually seen on my channel, the display usually presses quite firmly against the back side of that masking. And so what that means is when you put a colored filter on this type of watch when doing a mod, sometimes you don't have to apply glue, although glue or double-sided tape. Personally, I do, because if you move your wrist violently enough, especially for those of you using this in activity sports, it can jostle the filter out. When you're changing batteries, sometimes you loosen up the pressure on the back of that case, and then the module kind of releases its pressure from the back of the masking so the filters can fall out. But when the watch is assembled and screwed down in the case back, it presses nicely against that masking, and so the filters don't really move around a whole lot. So you could get away theoretically without any sort of adhesive. With this one, the display actually sits, and I wish I had shown this before I modded it. The display actually sits like maybe 1 millimeter below the masking. And so you can see it when you turn the watch to the side, you can actually see there's a little bit of a gap between the masking and the display. And so what that means is even with the case back put back on, the filters can freely float around this the internals of this case, meaning that you have to find some way to adhere the colored filters to the masking. I don't see any other way around that. So that's one difference. The second difference is the masking. So with the typical Casio AE 1200 and 1300 world times, you can go ahead and here's the masking here. You can lift up gently and pry this out, but you can see here in the corners that the masking, kind of like the 291H, those really big Casios, it's kind of molded into the resin of the entire case, so it's not possible to remove this. So why is that tricky? Well, if I took a filter, let's say I wanted to put a filter on that top window, usually with the 1200 and 1300, I would remove the masking, put the masking underneath my filter, outline it in Sharpie, cut it out, and adhere it, making it nice and simple to work on a flat surface. Because the masking is stuck inside the watch, I kind of have to put the filter over the back side of the case and kind of eyeball it, and then put some Sharpie marks, and you don't get a really good cut out the first time, so you have to do a rough cut, then you measure again, trim it a little bit, measure again until you finally get it right. So that's one other difference with this model. The last part that makes this really tricky is more to do with this round window here. So you can see here, we have a small circle over here. And when you're cutting out filters, especially on a masking that can't be removed, it's quite tricky to measure precisely around that circle and get your filter to fit, especially if you consider how thin these bars on the masking are here, here, and then in that circle. Again, if this masking was removable, it would probably be a lot easier, but that's the other tricky part. It's just that curvature. You have to really get your cuts precise, working, probably half an inch away from the back of that masking. So anyways, once you do that, it's very simple. Just go ahead and adhere your masking as you usually would. Again, double-sided tape is recommended here. I've used liquid tape over here on this person's Casio. Then you will go ahead and take your display as normal. Go ahead and, oh, by the way, the internals of these pushers are self-setting, so you don't really have to worry about pushing them back out, but just for good measure, go ahead and take a tool here, push the internals of those pushers back out, so that way you have room to fit your module. Put the module in the right orientation, like so. And then just as you've seen in my other videos, you're going to put a little bit of pressure here, gently push inward on these little tongs here on the module, so that way it sits flush and you're setting it correctly with the pushers on the outside. Set your O-ring in properly into the trough, take your case back, put that back in, and then you can go ahead and screw this down. So I'm not going to do that for you because you kind of get the point, and you're all set to go. Flip this over. I'll show you that one more time. And let's do a backlight shot here. I've got a little bit of light in the room. It's daylight right now, but there's your backlight. Everything's going to show up just like the World Times, that kind of amber orange color. Even with those filters that I put, that's what it's going to show like. So still very crisp, still very bright. You're still going to be able to read it because the color filters we chose here are quite light. It's not like a dark blue or purple. All right, so that'll do it for today's video, guys. Again, I probably should have filmed this, but didn't have access to the phone at the moment, but very simple to do. If you want to know exactly how to cut and adhere the filters and what filters exactly to use, the materials will be listed in the description below. And then I'd recommend checking out my other, I've got a few dozen of them on my channel. AE1200 world time videos of how to add filters to watches. Same exact principle applies here. By the way, wrist check. Today, wearing one of my favorite mods that I've done. This is the Casio AE1300H-3AV case that usually comes with the triple dial at the top. On the inside, I've put in an AE1200. I forgot the submodel number on the inside. That module comes with a factory yellowish hue and the green map, so those are not modified at all. No filters here. And then I've put the JaysandKays BULLBARS in this really cool matte gray. Really like this color option from JaysandKays. Again, link for all these parts can be found in the description. I'm using a strap adapter, 18 to 22 millimeters here from JaysandKays. This strap you will probably not be able to find separately. This is off a Seiko Pro Specs Safari model. I got this from somebody who was parting out his broken Seiko watch on eBay. So he was selling the straps separately, and so that's what I have here. Unfortunately, not sold separately. But that's a look at the Casio. All right, guys, that'll do it for today's video. Any comments or questions, please put them down below. If you could like or subscribe, as well as check out my Instagram channel in the description, that would be greatly appreciated. And as always, have fun, and I'll see you guys on the next one.